Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be speaking to you all today because not many people my age really get a chance to talk at an event such as this. And while competing with the buffet next will be a mild struggle, I'm hopefully going to interest you by speaking about youth entrepreneurship and how students today are receiving an education beyond the classroom. Well, to start, I'm Lucas Pringle. I'm 15 years old, and I'm the co-editor-in-chief of Rhino Press. We are an online news source run by and written for young people from across the world. I started working with the site last year. Originally, I was a writer for their current affairs section, but the website itself was started 2 years ago by a group of friends in Houston, Texas. The website at first was fairly rudimental. It was a blog on which students from their high school could contribute articles on current or local affairs. But as more people began to read the site, more people began to apply for roles other than simply writing and editing. The site moved away from being a blog to more of an organization with its own graphic designers, coders, and photographers, all of which being high school students. And now this diversity in students led to a diversity in ideas of how to advance the site. And so match-by-match coverage of the World Cup was organized, interviews with local politicians were organized, all of which advanced the site's popularity, readership, and eventual writing team. But they didn't stop there. They continued to expand through adverts posted online, calling for young people, high school students, with an interest in the news to come and work with them. And this is where I first came across the site. Now, I'd always been interested in current affairs, and I'd always been passionate about politics. But until I actually found Rhino Press, I couldn't do anything with this passion other than annoy my friends and family. And so, when I finally found Rhino Press, I, of course, started to work with them, and soon I became the website's first writer from overseas, which at first was a mild struggle. It took a while to explain to some of the American writers the extent of the time zone differences, and thus why I might be annoyed at 3 a.m. when they were calling me. But as I continued to work with them, I noticed something really change. I mean, when I first came to the site, I thought it would be something quick. Apologies. Something quick, something easy that I could put on my university application, maybe make me seem a bit different to someone who had the same A-levels as me. But as I continued to work with them, I started to get really involved and really invested in the team. I mean, it was something truly unique. We were a group of students from all across the world working together to produce a non-profit news source. And as the articles continued to be published, we continued to grow as an organization. What had started out as a group of friends in one high school grew to a team of 150 writers writing for 20,000 readers. And so when I was asked to become the World News editor in November, I was absolutely terrified. I mean, I was 14 years old. I wasn't trusted with using the stove unsupervised, let alone in being in charge of a team of writers from all across the world. But to my amazement, and possibly the amazement of my friends and family, it ended up working out. I continued to work with the site to this day, and in January I was asked to become the co-editor-in-chief. And now, this story of Rhino Press, it's unique in one way, but it also teaches you something about our generation. I mean, we've grown up with the internet, we've grown up with countless advances, technological and scientific, broadcast to us from a young age. And so it's no wonder that people my age have such a strong sense of passion. I mean, according to a 2013 Gallup OpenNix report, 4 in 10 students in the US have plans to start their own business. And out of this 40%, 38% of them believe that their invention will change the world. Now, call this what you will, ambition or naivety, but these teenagers do have access to a tool that other people our age in the past would never have had, namely the internet. I mean, take for example our story of Rhino Press. 40 years ago, it just wouldn't have been possible. Even if you could get the funding for your own printing press at your school, you still wouldn't be able to connect with students from all across the world in the same way that we have. You still wouldn't be able to build such an expansive team. And so for teenagers nowadays, all they really need to have a project like this is the belief that they can do it and an idea that they're truly passionate about. But there is one thing that is holding them back, and that's a lack of support that they often receive for these projects. I mean, our current education system, it has a number of passionate and inspirational mentors for young people. I'm lucky enough to have had many. But the nature of the curriculum makes it difficult for this individual innovation to be fostered. And even if we discount the attempts of some peers to dissuade young people from taking on these sorts of projects, then we end up in a situation where these ambitious young people lack the support that they need in order to fulfill their potential. And so the question then is, how can we actually realize this potential? And I think that there's three main steps towards doing this. And the first is simply to tell these young people that it's okay to do this sort of thing, and to show them examples of how it has been done before. Stories such as ours, such as the hundreds of other young people who are taking on roles outside of their school career, they're incredibly important as they show young people that your age doesn't need to be a barrier towards success, that if you truly believe in something, all you need to have is the passion to do it, and that will carry you a lot further than anything else you may know. And secondly, we need to be connecting these young people. Now, I might have slightly misled you earlier in the talk. I showed you this graphic of the 38% of the 40% of young people who believe that their invention will change the world. But in reality, they're not organized like this. In reality, they're more like this. I know, wow. While you're mesmerized by this, I'm just going to quickly get a bit of water. These ambitious young people, they're often separated due to geographical barriers, due to societal barriers, or simply due to not knowing each other. And this makes cooperation and success in their projects a lot harder. As said before, cooperation is vital to this sort of work. So we need to be moving towards a situation more like this, where young people are connected in their projects. At Rhino Press, we try and do this by working with other student news sources. Recently, we collaborated with the more politically minded Campaigner and Byline in order to provide coverage of the 2016 presidential primaries. And this sort of information sharing and collaboration, it benefits us both in a number of ways. Not only do we get the chance to pool our resources in terms of writers, but it also allows us to share information in terms of web marketing, in terms of graphic design, in terms of social media presence, both of which benefits us in many ways. And so by encouraging this collaboration in our schools, we end up in a situation where these projects are much more likely to succeed. And that leads me on to the third main thing that we need to be doing, which is encouraging this sort of work in our schooling system. Now, our current system favours grades over experience, and while GCSEs and SATs and A-levels are of course vital to the education system, I believe that they should come in tandem with the sort of real-world experience of project-based work. Because if we can be encouraging this sort of work in our school system, then we'll see the benefits that it brings happen across the country and possibly across the world. And from my time working as co-editor-in-chief of Rhino Press, I've been able to see the benefits that this gives to young people. And there's a few that I'd like to share with you briefly today. And the first is an independent work ethic. Now, my writers at Rhino Press, they have a fairly strict deadline system that they have to abide by, as I'm so fond of reminding them. But in the end, if they don't submit an article for a month, if they choose not to work with us, then I can't go over to their house in Washington and tell them off. In the end, it's up to them to choose to work with us. It's up to them to choose to make the commitment and possibly put in some work that will benefit them later in life. And from this, they learn an independent work ethic that's possibly missing in our schools at the moment. And secondly, it teaches them the valuable skill of networking, and it allows them to build their qualifications early in life. The people that I've met through Rhino Press, they've not only led to some great friendships, but they've also led to numerous professional, incredibly useful professional connections that will drastically benefit me later in life. And furthermore, it allows these young people to have quantifiable proofs of their ambition, of their dedication, that they can show to prospective universities and to, later in life, prospective employers to show their experience in their chosen fields. And finally, it can, in a way, teach you passion. When I came to Rhino Press, I viewed journalism and I viewed politics as stepping stones towards maybe a good university. But the experience of working late nights with people from across the world, the experience of countless articles penned and of haggling over deadlines and of Skype calls with people in Washington and Texas, well, it's left me more passionate about politics, more passionate about journalism, and more passionate about youth engagement in both of these things than I ever was before. I mean, last year I could have never have imagined at 15 giving a TEDx talk to such a talented, if slightly terrifying audience. But the experience has left me wanting to share this sort of story with you and with other young people. And I believe that this isn't just limited to journalism. This is something that will happen with young people in any chosen field. I mean, young people may choose to code apps. Young people may choose to direct or act in short films with their friends. Young people may choose to start or participate in political movements, as some of my friends have done. And I believe that in all of these, the same principles apply in terms of enabling them, and the same benefits apply when these young people eventually succeed. As I said before, in January, I was asked to become the co-editor-in-chief of Rhino Press. But that's by no means the end of our journey. As we move forward as an organization, we have some of the biggest challenges ahead of us, such as the presidential election in the US. And so we continue to rely on ambitious young people to succeed as an organization. And I believe we should be supporting these young people in every way we can as a society. Because even if many of these projects become nothing later in life, the experience of creating something yourself, the experience of working on your own terms, and of taking your education beyond the classroom, well, for a young person, it's an incredibly rewarding journey. So I know it's been a long day, but if you take one thing away from my talk today, don't make it my story of Rhino Press. Make it the hundreds of stories, the thousands of stories that young people are yet to tell. Thank you very much.